So we've now got another episode of Fear the Walking Dead. This is episode 4 of season 6 and it's titled The Key. Now if you have not seen episode 4 of season 6 yet and you do plan on watching it, do not watch this review because this review is going to contain full spoilers for the episode. So if you haven't seen the episode and you don't want to get anything spoiled for you, don't watch this review. So this episode we are following John. It was nice to pick up with John once again because we haven't actually seen him since season 5. So this time around he's not a sheriff, but he's more of a kind of a patrol guard for Virginia's group. He kind of does a shift work of, I think it was just looking at the main gate for his shift, and for the most part, besides not having June there, he kind of seemed happy. He seemed happy the fact that he says it, even goes, it makes sense here, and he seemed to be happy, which honestly I was kind of surprised. I thought John was going to be miserable because he's not with June, and he was sad, but he wasn't as sad as I was expecting him to be. I was expecting him to be absolutely heartbroken, but it just seems like he knew eventually they get back together. So he was just kind of living, just to live, keep moving on. But the whole storyline with John being a guard, I found to be quite interesting because as the story progresses and we kind of see him being kind of a detective investigating the crime, I've actually enjoyed that because it's quite unique for The Walking Dead. We've actually never really seen anything like this, and I thought it worked really well. It kind of reminded me a bit of Rick and Michonne back in the back half of season 5 when they were patrolling around Alexandria, kind of like that, but this just seemed like a bigger job. It just worked a lot better here than it did in The Walking Dead because I just felt like this feels like an actual town, where Alexandria just felt like a little community, a couple of houses, rather than a town, which this actually feels like. But throughout this thing, the guy who is on the shift before John he's killed by walkers as he gets strapped up to some barbed wire, and John wants to investigate what happened, and Virginia doesn't. And then John does investigate it, and then we find out that the actual person who did it was Janet. And Janet is the person we've seen her back in episode 2 with with Strand and Alicia. I had no idea who she was. Apparently she was a character. I said, okay, she's probably just some character that we knew from last season, but it was revealed, well, she said her brother's name. As soon as she said her brother's name, I realized who she was. Her brother was the one who had that horrible selfie death, who was trying to record something and then ended up dying, falling into the water. That was her brother. That was her. I completely forgot who she was until she mentioned her brother. I forgot about her brother too. But she gets framed or blamed or whatever. I assume Virginia said, I'll do whatever it is to you unless you kind of say just it was you. So I imagine Virginia bullied her into saying it was you, because I don't know who actually killed her. I don't think it was Virginia. I imagine it was someone higher up, but I don't know who exactly would have killed her. It's best of my knowledge, I'm about 95% sure we actually didn't get revealed who actually killed I think his name was Cameron. But we see the death of Janet, which it was shocking in a way of how the death happened, but it wasn't shocking in the fact that, oh my god, Janet said, oh no, poor Janet. I didn't really care about her character, but her death was actually quite horrible. It was kind of foreshadowed at the start of the episode with Virginia saying it, but I didn't expect it to come back around and see her actually kill someone. So what she did was she tied her to a tree and she played music, very loud music, so it'll draw the walkers in. She can't go anywhere, so all she has to do is be devoured by walkers. And her whole, I imagine she chopped off her leg, and then and her stomach got ripped in half. I don't know how all this happened, and then we find her on the ground as a walker, and it was horrible. It absolutely broke John. John was devastated, and then we see John actually bury her. And then we kind of go see the rabbi. It's like, oh, he was hinting that, okay, maybe he was revolved her, and then Strand came out and revealed that Strand actually told Virginia to move up her execution date because she might be a flight risk. And then we got a pretty cool fight. We got Strand and John fighting, which is something I never thought I wanted, never thought I think we'd ever see. But the fight, it wasn't long. It kind of reminded me again a bit of Rick and Pete back in season 5 of The Walking Dead, just because it was a dirty fight. John smacks him in the face with the end of the gun, and it was pretty cool. He was shouting that it's your fault she's dead. All of it I thought was pretty cool to see all this kind of play out. But John's character, I was not surprised to see. I was surprised to see how he turned out in this episode, because it's not how I thought his character was going to go. As I said at the start, I was expecting him to be quite depressed, but the way he went in this episode, I kind of found it unique and quite enjoyable to see his character do something completely different than what I would have expected him to do. But for keeping his mouth shut, we actually a pretty interesting scene itself was John digs up the body to kind of inspect it to see how he died. We see his throat was slit, so that's how we know he was actually murdered. But that leads to a pretty cool fight, and then Virginia knows that Janet wasn't actually the one to kill him, so she gives him a kind of a promotion, giving him the key, and says, oh, but you having that's going to open up doors for you. I knew it was going to be something to do with June, but I was not expecting to see June in this episode, or even June be reunited with John in this episode. So I was just as surprised with John to see June and him be reunited. The reuniting scene, it was good. Not as good as Dwight and Sherry's, but in fairness, Dwight and Sherry, at this time frame, haven't seen each other in 2 years. John and June haven't seen each other in 6 weeks. They always knew they were going to get back together. Dwight and Sherry had no idea they were going to get back together. But it was alright to see them together. I've never really been a big June fan, so I didn't really care to see her again. I am intrigued now to see, because I know we are seeing an episode with her. I think it could be episode 6 with her. I'm interested to see, is her episode going to be based before episode 4, or is it going to be based after episode 4? Because I know for a fact that we're going to be jumping around a bit. They did say they were going to be messing around with time a good bit within the season, so I'm interested to know if her storyline is going to take place before episode 4 or after episode 4. But as this whole storyline takes place, because that's kind of the majority of the story, we do get a little bit of Morgan, and we see that first up, he has found, well, Daniel has given Morgan a jumper that belonged to, I can't remember her name, his love interest. He gives it to the dog, which I was surprised that he actually has the dog. But I was also, Morgan's hardly going to get rid of a dog. But it was quite cool to see Morgan with a bloodhound. And then Morgan and the dog, are making their way over to the Gulch, which is where Morgan got shot and everything went to shit at the end of season 5. That's where Morgan's on his way to. A car crashes into him. At first, I was like, okay, is this going to be someone like, this going to be John, or is this going to be Daniel, or someone, or Dwight and Sherry, and they're going to reunite, and then Morgan was going to take Sherry back to wherever he was going. That's where I was expecting it to go. But then it was the two people we seen at the start of episode 1, which were spray painting the end is the beginning at the submarine. They say to him, where's whatever the guy's name, the bounty hunter, he is our key. And then they try to kill Morgan. Morgan quite brutally kills one of them by slitting his stomach open with the axe, which was quite badass on Morgan's part. And then the other guy, Morgan, I think the guy, it looked to me like it was kind of a pickaxe. It's not a pickaxe, yeah, is it a pickaxe? I don't know, whatever it's called. He looked like he went to stab Morgan, but he missed Morgan, and Morgan stabbed him in the chest, killing both of them. So I was surprised they died so quickly, but I'm assuming they're part of a larger group. I doubt it's just the two of them. I'm assuming it's some massive group. They were sent out to get the key. Morgan goes, what the hell is this key for? Just like everyone else thinking, what the hell is this key for? I'm so intrigued to see what is inside the submarine that everyone absolutely wants, because these people are going to kill Morgan for this key. So what the hell does this key open? Hopefully, actually, you know what? I doubt it's going to be episode 5. I don't think it'll be episode 6. 7 or 8. As far as I know, this season is going to, our season from mid-season break is going to be in episode 7. Because as far as I know, they didn't film episode 8, so we probably aren't going to see episode 8 anytime soon. So hopefully episode 7 answers some questions, because I'm assuming, I'm probably right in saying this, if we don't see episode 8, it's going to be the new year. We're not going to see these episodes in 2020, so hopefully we do get some answers. I know we kind of have to give them a little bit more leeway because of COVID and everything, but I hope the questions we have do get answered and they don't get dragged into the second half just because of COVID. But that is my kind of in-depth thoughts of episode 4. I would say it's the weakest of the season so far, and that's not like to diss the episode or anything. It's better than all 5 of the episodes of World Beyond. It's still a great episode. It's a good character story on John. It's good to see more of the character of John, because to me he's always been more of a sideline character. He's always been a B-lister, where I always thought he had the potential to be an A-lister character, but he's always been a B-lister to me. So to see him kind of step into the front of the episode, being the lead of this episode. I thought it worked really well. I'm excited to see more of John again, but I always am. I've always been a fan of that character. And Virginia, for me, this is probably the most menacing and the most terrifying Virginia has ever been. She's just so slimy. She's so untrustworthy. And her character, I really hate her. I hated her before, but I hated her before because I thought she was a ridiculous villain and she was a terrible villain. But now I'm hating her because she's clearly a horrible, horrible person. And I want to see her Morgan kill her. There's no way Morgan's going to let her live. He's not going to go, okay, put her in a cell like Rick did. Morgan is going to have to kill her, and I can't see any other way around Morgan doing this, or it's going to be a complete flip of what Morgan is at the moment. But if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 5, which as far as I know, we're going to be seeing Dwight and Sherry again. I could be wrong in that, but as far as I know, it will be Dwight and Sherry in episode 5. If you want to hear my thoughts on episode 5, which will be sometime next week, I don't actually have an actual date for you, but if you want to hear my thoughts on that, click on the subscribe button. If you want to hear my thoughts on World Beyond episode 5, that's kind of at the bottom of my list right now of things to do, because World Beyond is just burning me out, and I'm very contemplating not even continuing to review the season because I think World Beyond's a quite shit show. But if you want to hear my thoughts on episode 5, which will be in the next couple of days or so, also click on the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching.